Each year, my family loaded up the car for a summer road trip. We visited family, camped, and my dad, a geologist, taught us about interesting rock formations. All of us explored the local, state, and national places where history happened. It was thrilling to realize I was standing in places where rock layers had been deposited millions of years ago, or battles had been fought, or people had lived lives, maybe not so different from mine. History was always my favorite subject. And during my junior year in high school, my U.S. history teacher assigned us to write a biography of the school's namesake, I.H. Kempner Sr. We traveled to the County Historical Society's collection to do research, and we interviewed his living descendants. By the end of the year, we had written a book, and I had co-authored Chapter 1. By the end of high school, I experienced that history wasn't just a set of events in the past, which my teacher explained, or I read about in my textbook. Instead, it was the process of asking questions, discovering information, locating sources, and using historical imagination to make sense of what I found. I attended college and taught high school geography and history in San Antonio, Texas, before going back to graduate school. My research took me back to the Franciscan missions I had visited as a child. I was particularly interested in the encounters between vastly different groups of native peoples and Europeans which occurred in those spaces. Trying to understand these encounters and daily life in mission communities led me to archives in Spain, Mexico, and the United States. This research helped me bring the global history of colonialism and interethnic encounters home to local and familiar spaces, where interactions between cultural groups are still shaping the way we understand our past and present. 7 years later, on a warm May morning in Little Rock, I walked down 15th Street with a class of energetic fifth graders and their teachers to the large two-story house on the corner. The huge camellia tree in the front yard and the cast-iron hitching post near the cracked sidewalk harkened back to the home's late 19th century roots when it had presided over the city's first neighborhood of professional African Americans. Mifflin Gibbs was its original owner, a prominent politician and businessman, and the school's namesake. I had spent a year researching him in the company of the school's art teacher, Susan Purvis. In the archives of Howard University, we found a letter from Mifflin Gibbs to his daughter Harriet, written shortly before his death from that two-story house on the corner, something each of us passed every day. On that sunny morning, I shared it with the kids. Afterwards, we explored Judge Gibbs's Little Rock, walking through the spaces in which he lived and worked, and ending at his gravesite. During that year, the Gibbs Magnet School community traveled the world with Mifflin Gibbs, using our historical imagination. From Philadelphia to San Francisco, Vancouver to Oberlin, Little Rock to Washington, D.C., and all the way to Madagascar, where he was U.S. consul. Together, we wrote and illustrated exhibit text panels to tell his story. The students created paintings, banners, prints, and sculpture. We capped off the year with the opening of a museum exhibit, which we created together. Today, the text panels still tell his story to the students and families who attend or visit the school. On the first day of my required world civilization courses, students sometimes tell me that they are not good at history, or that they find it boring or difficult. Underneath these comments is a view of history as a static set of facts that needs to be memorized and recited. But my experiences teach me that history is alive all around us, in a rock formation, a mission, a battlefield, a letter in the archives, a front porch, a cemetery. I love the challenge of bringing these things to my teaching. When we provide students with activities and experiences that put them in the places where history happened, discovering artifacts and engaging with sources, we teach them how people with different worldviews and experiences construct the stories they tell about history. And ultimately, we can all become the authors of our own stories. There's power in collaboratively searching for and discovering, writing, and creating our own history.